Those of you that were listening to Bob, and thank you very much, Bob, for 3 hours of the mid-morning show, I did a interview from Oakridge Baptist Church. I was invited to the launch of Wycombe's first, I'm feeling hopeful, community fridge, and had some really interesting people involved in that to talk to on Bob's show, and I've kidnapped one of them to come back to the studio with me, and it's Alice. Hi, Alice.
Hi there, Maddie. Thanks for having me.
Not at all. We're really delighted. And Alice works for Hubbub,
yes,
which is the charity behind a number of initiatives that we will get to, but we're going to start with talking about community fridge or community fridges, and then, although neither Alice nor I are experts on how the one at Oakridge is going to work, we'll have a pretty good stab at that. So, Alice, first of all, tell us about Hubbub.
So Hubbub is an environmental charity that works to create playful campaigns about a number of environmental issues. We really focus on things that people really care about, so the things that are most important to them in their lives, like food. That's where the part of Hubbub that I work particularly closely with, fashion, neighbourhoods and the home. And we want to kind of tackle those in a way that makes people, they want to care about those things, they want to get involved in the campaigns, and we try to stay away from doom and gloom and go for more positive, healthy solutions.
Brilliant. That's what we need more of,
yes,
particularly now. Well, that's brilliant, isn't it? God. Well, we will get to all of those others. And I think you said you've only been 2 months or something working for Hubbub?
Yes,
right?
I've only been working for 2 months. Recently graduated from university, but really excited to get going in the sustainability
It looks like
field.
A brilliant place to be working, and you're in Somerset House. What a fabulous part of London to be working in. Fantastic. So we're both looking at your website. It's a very playful website. You use the word playful. And so community fridges, obviously we had this conversation not all that long ago, but in case people weren't listening to the end of Bob's show when we spoke, the idea is, isn't it, that, we'll talk about the one at Oakridge. We know that's going to be open at the moment Mondays and Thursdays, 9:30 till 5. And it's very much, isn't it, about reducing food waste,
yes,
and bringing people together, communities together around food, and which actually we've got a number of initiatives in Wycombe that work on that sort of basis as well, and it's brilliant. So, I mean, everybody's interested in. I think not for a long time, but I used to take recipe books to bed to read because they're just so beautiful.
Yes, they are.
And there's so many great recipes now that are, and also this community fridge is focusing very much on fresh food, isn't it? So it's quite different from a food bank because you don't
yes,
fresh. So we had a quick look. They threw the doors open for us this afternoon, and there's a lot of fresh food. So there's a lot of fruit and veg and bread, all stacked up there. The bread smelt wonderful, and then a big larder fridge, and then a huge chest freezer.
Yes.
And I didn't actually look in the freezer, but we all know the sort of thing that go in the freezer. So supermarkets obviously are there was the wonderful Claire from Tesco Loudwater there, who gets around, and I think she'd come with a whole load of mince pies. I'm not quite sure, but anyway, Tesco's, all Aldi, Lidl, Sainsbury's, all of them have been or are going to be approached, I guess, about donating stuff coming up to, because there's a difference between best before and use by.
Yes.
Well,
I think so. From Hubbub, we've been in charge of the Community Fridge Network, which is a network of community fridges. And community fridges are different from food banks in that anyone can come and take food, anyone can come and give food. And so whether it's a supermarket who has best before dates, which, they have food standards which are strict and they can't sell food beyond a certain date, but it's still perfectly fine to use. As you say, there's a difference between best before and still being usable after. Or if it's someone going on holiday and they have surplus food at their home, anyone can come and give food, whether it's even people who just have a lot of fruit and veg growing in their garden that they just can't eat. and Hubbub works with the community fridges who are part of our community fridge network. There are now 40 fridges that are open, and over 30 kind of working to make one. So it's a huge network, and it's growing every day.
Yes.
And we work with them to introduce them to supermarkets, to give them a number of resources that can help them establish as a food business, to be able to give food out and all the necessary documents and resources and even design that they might need to run a community fridge well.
Yeah, and actually, obviously, I've never seen any other community fridges. This is, obviously, it's not enormous. So, but of course, I don't know. We'll get someone from Women's Culture Arena to come and talk to us about how it's going to work. But there are at least 3 supermarkets in walking distance of Oak Ridge Baptist Church. So actually, again, environmentally, there won't be. They haven't got room for van loads of stuff. So it's going to be more local, isn't it?
Yes.
I'm imagining. Otherwise, they could be overwhelmed with bags of lettuce or whatever it might be. But so we really want, and I think Shanthi from Women's Cultural Arena, she said when we left, didn't she, her last words were, please spread the word, we really want people to know about it. Because that's the thing, if people don't use it, then that's such a shame, because it's such a great idea.
Well, I think that's the fantastic thing. There's one opening in Aylesbury, and hopefully, as you say, it won't be the first in High Wycombe or Wycombe.
Yes.
And I think it's such an important project, because not only does it help reduce food waste, which has a huge environmental impact. I think it's a third of food worldwide is wasted or lost, which is just insane. The amount of water and carbon dioxide that's emitted through transporting that food that then only goes to waste is huge.
Yes.
But not more importantly, but equally as importantly, 8.4 million people in the UK struggle to afford a meal and afford food. And so projects like this in a community, run by communities, are so important to help those families who can't get enough food to eat. Yes,
absolutely. I think, and it seems to me that in this country particularly, as opposed to certainly Mediterranean country, if you go on holiday to France or Spain or Italy, people tend to shop on a daily basis fresh. I've noticed that when I've been on holiday, people go out with their wheelie trolleys. I've got wheelie trolley, I love it. And you just get what you're going to eat that day, the fruit, the veg, because it's a more local kind of setup. I mean, I'm not talking obviously Berlin or Paris or whatever, but when you and we tend to go to supermarkets and buy nets of oranges or bags of lettuce as opposed to the head of lettuce that we might. So again, this will help enormously. Could help enormously if people cotton on and respond to it. So I thought it was terrific, and I thought, having seen it, is it difficult to get to set up a community fridge? I think there are a number of processes that need to happen in order to set one up, and to ensure that, especially now that allergies are such an important thing to consider, and there's a number of liabilities that need to be thought about. So I think there's definitely a process behind it that can take time, and also you need volunteers or staff who are. So it's an ongoing management. However, we've got a lot of resources on our website, which is hubbub.org.uk. Yes.
And if you just look at community fridges online, we pop up, and we can help you through that whole process. We've got resources. So especially if you don't live in an area that's near a community fridge, we can help you make another one.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm wearing another hat. I'm certainly going to look at that. We're going to play another record and have some adverts, and then come back and talk some more. Ocean Drive by the Lighthouse Family. You're listening to Huxley and Howe on Wycombe Sound, and I have got Alice from Hubbub in the studio with me this afternoon. We've come hot foot from the launch of the community fridge at Oakridge Baptist Church, and we're talking about Hubbub, which is the charity that supports this and other campaigns, and they're all it's an environmental theme through all your campaigns.
Yes.
And as you said, one of the other themes is fashion campaigns, and we're just looking now at some of those, and one of the ones particularly we're going to talk about is about microfibres, and it's called What's in My Wash, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the What's in My Wash campaign is all about microfibres from our clothing. So if you don't know what microplastics are, they're tiny little bits of plastic that get into the ocean, get into the waterways, and has recently actually been found in the human body, which is obviously quite concerning. There isn't much research about what the health impact this has on humans. However, some studies into mice has shown it's quite worrying, and it could be a reason for concern. However, recently it's been found that over a third of the primary ocean microplastics come from our clothes and come from when we wash them in the washing machine. These tiny bits of plastic, especially from acrylic clothing or any clothing with plastics in there. So if you look at your washing label, you'll be able to see, and anything that has kind of poly or that sort of thing in the label has plastic in it, and tiny fibres come off your clothes into the washing water and into the waterways, which is causing quite a few problems, and there are 16 times more of these microfibres than microbeads. As you may know, microbeads have been huge in the news in the past, from your cosmetics and how they get into the sea and the oceans, and so obviously this is a problem that we want to tackle. It's at the very beginning of this campaign, so there's a lot of room to grow and to find solutions. However, it's definitely one to watch. So if you're on Twitter, it's #What'sInMyWash.
Yeah.
And recently we were at Bond Street Station with a big installation about this. And basically one thing that anyone at home can do is just take better care washing your clothes. Wash them less frequently, because that can obviously doesn't send out as many microfibres, and also not drying your clothes in a tumble dryer, but instead air drying them as much as you can.
Oh, that makes a difference.
Yes.
Okay. And are you saying, obviously we'll research it now, but that really if it's not a natural fibre like cotton or wool, then it's going to have microfibres in it, or not necessarily?
Yes, so if it has any plastic in it, it has microplastics in it. That's basically just small particles of the plastic itself that will come off, as it naturally does when with any kind of friction. However, the other problem with natural fibres and any fibres really is if there's been chemical dyes, the chemicals, anything like that used in clothing, we're not too sure what the impact of that even is. So basically the advice is just to wash your clothes less until we find some better solutions.
Yes, and actually I think it's true, isn't it, that when you're trying to change somebody's perception, or more importantly their behaviour, if you make it too difficult and complicated, I can't, this is too difficult, but a simple message like wash your clothes less and don't tumble dry them, that's perfectly doable, isn't it? So I shouldn't be actually, if my towels are cotton, that's all right, isn't it? Because I do like to fluff my towels up in the tumble dryer after they're quite dry. So hopefully, so that should still be all right.
The important thing to remember is individual actions are really important, but also it's about the industry and asking them to make the changes. The people who make fast fashion, who make kind of lower quality clothing. So if you're going for higher quality, that'll last you longer. You'll have to buy less clothing, which means kind of less water and energy goes into producing clothes. So it's really going to the industry. So if anyone has Twitter, just tweeting your favourite shop and saying, hey, I'm worried about this, research it. Because if this is as big an issue as it possibly could be, it is definitely worth thinking about.
Well, we've got this conference going on at the moment, haven't we? And David Attenborough is going to be speaking at it. And I think, he... the programmes that he made, it's specifically about plastic, have really made such an impact. Certainly in this country. I mean, I'm sure it's watched beyond. Obviously, the BBC has huge reach, but those the pictures, and what they found in the stomach of that whale recently that was washed up. Do you remember? And it was full of, I don't know how many plastic cups, and it really does. And people said when we first started saying, we can't have carrier bags, plastic carrier bags, uproar. How long did that take for people to completely accept it? Now everybody's got a bag, they bring a bag with them. Very occasionally you might have to buy one, but it happened really quickly, really. So you're right, sort of focus on the individual actions, but it's getting
also
the
industry
as well.
And I think climate change is a huge issue. I personally believe it's the biggest issue, because without a planet we can live on, you can't have things like female education, reducing poverty. And I think it's an issue that we should all care about. Especially recently, there's been news that I might get this wrong, but since over the last 50 years, there's been a 60% reduction in diversity of animals on Earth. I think it's diversity, which is scary. And animals and organisms do so much to keep us alive. And I think we really have to look at the world and see what's important for us and what will sustain us as a species.
Yes, absolutely. There was, I think, something on Twitter or something this morning that David Attenborough had said, no animal, we don't have more right than any other animal to be on this earth. And we've used it like just our own plaything. But anyway, there we are. But there's lots. There are more concerned, and people like you. You're young. People can't see you, but they probably you're young and enthusiastic, and it's your generation and the generations after you that all this is more important for, along with all sorts of other decisions that get taken that currently you're not in a position. So 100%. Gosh, there's so much here. So we've talked about the what's in my wash, but you've also got the faux fashion initiative, which I was looking at here, which is now it suddenly seems to, here we are, under fashion campaigns on your website. Alternative fashion magazine, that's right. So much of where the clothes you buy are out of style before they've even been sold, and our obsession with the next big thing, whether we really need to buy stuff to be happy. So there's that. Repurposing corporate uniforms you've got. Make, do and mend events. That's a great idea. You have, it says here, fashion event ideas, from film screenings to fashion swaps. A free e-guide has events of all shapes and sizes for you and your friends to revamp your wardrobes, make your clothes last longer and save money.
I think one thing anyone can do is organise a fashion swap with their friends, and get friends round for a party, for maybe a drink or some nibbles, and everyone bring some clothes that they don't want to wear anymore, but someone else might really love. Yeah,
fabulous idea. Right, we're going to play one of my favourite energy inducing tracks next, and then we'll have some adverts and come back and talk some more. Brilliant. Cake by the Ocean, DNCE. I know it's not the summer anymore, but that was one of my favourite tracks of the summer, and why not? And we've been talking about plastic in the ocean, so there's a very pathetic link. So I'm talking to Alice from Hubbub, an environmental charity.
Yes.
And we've talked about the community fridge, we've talked about microplastics now. We're going to talk now about Leads by example, as in Leeds, the city Leeds. Tell us about that.
Yes, so Leeds by example, or hashtag Leeds by example if you're on social media, is a campaign about recycling on the go, because the amount of food and drink we buy on the go is astonishing. Last year we spent £17.4 billion on food and drink. So that's, whether you're getting your meal deal from Boots or you're getting something from Press, something like that.
Yeah.
Or if you're shopping at independent shops as well. But this stacks up to about 13 billion plastic bottles bottles, 9 billion drinks, and 2.5 billion coffee cups every year. So this is a huge amount of waste that often, if there aren't bins on the streets that have recycling or get contaminated if they are recycling, because people don't know which bins to put them in, this is a huge issue for waste.
Yes.
And it all goes to landfill. So Hubbub is currently working in Leeds, trialling this new recycling techniques between October and March in 2019.
Yeah.
And so they have created these bins that are very bright, very clear, where you can recycle a number of different materials, and they've got a name for it: Alan Bennett and Gordon Bennett, because Alan Bennett, the playwright, was born in Leeds, grew up in Leeds. And yes, so at the moment this is a campaign that's being trialled to try and see how bright bins that are very playful, that people can interact with, how that drives down contamination, how that increases recycling. So it's in its early stages, but I personally think it's a fantastic campaign and really needed, and it's the biggest recycling campaign in the UK. Has over 20 brands like McDonald's, Pret, Starbucks all collaborating on this, which is amazing considering a lot of them are competitors.
Yes.
And we're just trying to increase recycling and get it on the agenda a bit more.
Definitely. That looks really exciting. So I will follow hashtag Leeds by example, definitely. I mean, if they can do it there, we can do it here.
Exactly.
Why not? Absolutely. So I'm just looking here about and then there on the website says if you're not in Leeds, here's what you can do. So
I think that's the idea. People can look at this campaign and replicate it elsewhere.
Yeah.
So it'd be fantastic if all cities and all towns had systems like this where people know how to recycle, know where they can recycle, and know what they can recycle.
I was listening to somebody on the radio the other day talking about shopping, how shopping habits have changed from the point of view of trying to, not have single-use plastic and all that. And the woman said, because the guy asked her, what about sales of plastic, sales of water? And she said that is still, on the up. But the problem is, at the moment, there isn't an alternative because it's only sold in plastic bottles. But that's something that's being looked into. I'm sure somebody's going. Do you know about that?
I think one really easy thing everyone can do is use reusable. So a reusable water bottle. There's a fantastic organisation called Refill, which has now sprung up in quite a few cities where they put refill points around the city or town where you can go fill up your water bottle, because of course there was a lot of hygiene concerns that kind of got sent away the water fountains, which of course are so fantastic if you just need water when you're out and about. And so definitely looking into things like that is a fantastic way. Anything reusable coffee cups really helps.
Be prepared. And there was something else before I let you go. There was something else you wanted to talk to me about.
Well, so if anyone wants to follow us on Twitter at Hubbub UK or on Facebook or Instagram, we are at the moment have an advent calendar, a zero waste advent calendar called #SavvyChristmas, where we give a sustainable tip every day on how you can either reduce food waste, how you can make your own Christmas wrapping paper, how you can buy a replantable Christmas tree, which obviously saves the number of trees that go into the skip each year. E-cards, because an astonishing amount of paper is wasted through Christmas cards, and just a few different tips that people can maybe take on board just to reduce their impact at this time of year.
Actually, one of my neighbours where I used to live had a brilliant idea, so I copied it. She cut the front off Christmas cards and then used it, as a card and to write notes. I mean, maybe not frightfully posh notes, but if she was popping a note through somebody's door, she would just write on the back of that. I thought that's a brilliant idea. It saves a lot of money, and you are at least repurposing at least half the card. It's. I mean, that's. I thought that's quite a nice idea, because we're always looking for thank you cards for things, aren't we?
Yeah.
So, well, look, it's been absolutely great to have you. I mean, I would have kept you for the second hour, but you do have to go back to work. I realise that. But we will definitely keep in touch. Obviously, we're going to keep up with the community fridge at Oak Ridge and maybe, see how that goes. And fingers crossed, see others following that example, and you'll probably be coming back up for the Aylesbury fridge,
I'm sure
which is
we
next
will.
year. And we say there's one in Chesham already. How long has that been going? Do you know?
I'm not too sure.
No,
I think it's very recent, though.
Okay, and then one in Wolverton, which is Milton Keynes. So fantastic. Thank you so much, Alice, for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
So we'll repeat the website address, or perhaps you'd like to repeat
Yes,
it.
that's hubbub.org.uk.
Yep.
And there's lots of information you can find there.
There is. And very appropriately, I asked Alice if there was a particular song or artist that she would like me to play, and she has come up with this one.
They paved paradise, put up a parking lot.